All right, all right, all right. Welcome to this episode of Warrior Week Parable from the Pit, specifically episode number 12. Sit down, relax, and enjoy the next hour. And we are back. My guest this week is Dr. Adam Splaver. Dr. Adam Splaver, welcome to the fucking show.
Thank you for having me.
All right. You know it's going to be a spicy one.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Today's show is about pain, it's about power, it's about love, it's about fatherhood, it's about an experience of life that our brother, Dr. Splaver, will bring to us. That is one to be told. And so it's going to get real. It's going to go to places where there may be tear, and there may be frustration, there may be pain, and there may be joy, but it's going to get fucking raw. Dr. Splaver, how did you even find out about Warrior?
Well, it's been interesting. Over the past several years in my Facebook feed, I kept on seeing the advertisement for Warrior. And it caught my interest. I mean, the fact that, there was a program out there that would combine both body and your spirituality as well as your family and your business really struck a chord with me. So that's really what I really wanted to get involved with. There was one minor catch on all that, which, as you all probably know, I'm Orthodox Jewish. And I was nervous. I was nervous about what would happen to me in Warrior Week and what would happen to me in general. And so I kind of pushed it by the wayside, and I said, yeah, great program, but not for me, not for me. And
how long you did that?
About a year and a half.
Okay, so a year and a half ago, you heard a mess. Not a year and a half ago. Actually, you came in Warrior Week 28,
which was 2 years ago.
So 3 year, almost 4 years ago.
I heard about Warrior.
You heard about Warrior. Like, there is a conversation, and at that time, you were part of two respected communities. One is the Jewish community.
Yeah.
And you're actually a fucking leader, right? You lead inside of that community. And also inside of your profession as a doctor, inside of that community, cardiologists specifically, you're a leader in their conferences, seminars, and so on, right? So it's basically two traditional worlds that collide pretty easy with the message of Warrior, which says, tell the fucking truth.
Correct.
In a way, it collides, but at the same time, it merges with the message.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, once you go above and beyond what Warrior is, you understand that it is the same message and you're actually welcomed home.
Correct. I mean, if anything, these messages ring so true that it fit in very, very well with what I did at home. But the biggest issue I had were the stories I told myself. What the fuck is a religious cardiologist doing going into a program like this? Going to a ring to fight, climbing up a mountain, swimming in the ocean. All these things were very foreign, at least to my community and to my background.
And so that's what you thought you were coming here to do, because that's what we show.
Correct.
And what you found out was that, okay, Warrior Week, first of all, is not a fucking physical event. And that it's a spiritual journey that has been quite a painful and powerful one for you so far.
Yeah.
And so we're going to roll back to July, was it 2000?
It was, May 2016.
May 2016. I remember you standing up in the line at check-in at Warrior Week. And you and I were back and forth, and I was just, you were confusing me. So I was like, hey, are you confused?
No, I wasn't confused. You were confused that I was confused.
I was extremely confused, and that's exactly what you said. You said, no, I'm not confused. And then I said, why am I confused? And you said, it appears that...
We're confused and I'm confused. So you're confused.
It appears that I'm making you confused, and by therefore everyone is confused. So... you go through that experience. Talk to me about that experience and what discoveries you had and what impact that it had on your life at that time.
Well, it's funny. Coming here, I was absolutely and utterly scared shitless. utterly scared shitless because I didn't know what to expect. You know, you hear about the process of Warrior Week and the build up to it, and I remember that first night that we went out there into the ocean, and I was beside myself. I literally almost thought, I don't think I ever told you this. I thought I was going to go home. That night, I said, I was actually on the verge of saying, fuck this all, I'm out of here. And, like, why do I deserve to why should I even bother doing this?
I didn't know that. I didn't know that.
No, I didn't tell you this.
Okay.
But
I remember you fighting that night pretty good. And, but the first night was the night where, almost like you felt the pain, right? And so what was the pain in your life at that time?
At that time, the pain in my life, which ended up continuing, was my wife's illness. A couple of years prior, back in 2012, my wife had a hemorrhagic stroke, a bleeding stroke, from a brain tumor that we had no idea existed. And that basically completely and utterly threw my world upside down.
So let's roll this back. What year was that?
2012. It was Election Day 2012 in this
2012, Election Day. And how long you've been married with your wife by then?
At that point in time, it was 17 years. 17 years.
17 years with your wife, and 4 kids?
4 kids.
Ages at that time?
At that time, it would have been
6 years younger.
16, 15, 9, and 12. So
16, 15, 9, and 12. Boys or girls?
3 boys and then the princess.
3 boys and a princess. Beautiful family. Happy family. Well-respected family inside of your community. Obviously, in the line of work that you do, it's really like an amazing fucking life. Like, life could not be better.
I thought we were on top of the world. I literally thought we had this down pat. It couldn't get any better.
Couldn't get better. You were a doctor. You were making money, and you were helping people. You were living your profession and your passion.
I was leading.
You were leading, and your wife was supporting you. You had a romantic relationship and joy and love, and then inside of that, you would teach all that to your kids.
Yeah.
So yeah, literally on top of fucking world, like untouchable. And then comes in tragedy. This out of fucking nowhere. Like, it was out of nowhere.
Out of nowhere. My wife had been training for a half marathon at the time. We thought she was healthy as a horse. We had no idea this was going to go down.
And then so this hits home. Talk to us about the process. What happened, first of all? What happened to you when you received the news? What happened to the kids? Yeah. And then how did you lead? Because of course you have to make sure that you carry all the pain.
Yeah. So
that the kids don't carry it, although they carry it anyway.
So I remember this very clearly. I was in my office seeing patients, and I got a phone call from my mother-in-law telling me that my wife, Shani, was found unconscious at home, and that they were bringing her in by ambulance. And, of course, I said to my staff, I'm leaving, I'm out of here, and I ran out the door and literally flew to the hospital a couple blocks away and met the ambulance there. And I remember seeing her pretty much lifeless on that gurney, and they rolled her in. And they immediately rolled her into the CAT scanner because she was completely and utterly, unresponsive. And me being a doctor and seeing what showed up on that screen and realizing that there was a hell of a lot of blood where it did not belong, I immediately doubled over. I was on the floor. I was bawling my eyes out, screaming uncontrollably. And it was a horror. It was a shock.
And once you found out about this, like, how was the news announced to your wife, and also how was the news announced to your family? And, like, talk to us about that, man.
Well, so once we realized that she had this bleed, of course, the kids were completely unaware of what happened. They were in school at the time, and we didn't tell them. We actually didn't tell them. We said to them their mother was sick. She was in the hospital.
Yeah.
We didn't want to worry them because we didn't know what was going on yet. In fact, actually, the doctors had absolutely no clue. They thought there was possibly a tumor there. They weren't sure. And finally, when the dust started to settle and she started becoming, more cognizant, more aware, and they realized that there was a tumor there, that's when we allowed the children to come in when she was more awake, and we told the community, we told the rest of the family. But what was disturbing to me at the time, and at least my father-in-law, who teaches neuroanatomy, the guy wrote the textbook on neuroanatomy, we found out that the tumor was in an area, or they thought the tumor was an area that was completely and utterly inoperable. And we were told basically prepare for her to die.
So you're told prepared to lose the woman of your life, the woman of your dream, the gift from God to you, the mother of your kids, your lover, your friend. Prepare to lose her.
Yeah, I mean, basically, like we said before, we had an amazing marriage. My wife and I literally were the dynamic duo. We ran the community practically.
Yes.
And we had a passionate love life. We were co-creators. We were great parents. And just hearing that news in of itself was just like someone ripped a hole out from inside my heart.
Yeah, I can just imagine that. Not being in that situation, I can't sit here and tell you like how I feel, but or even sit and say, hey man, I know how you feel. It's just I can just fucking imagine how horribly that must have been felt. And inside of that, you deal with that, and fast forward it to you coming to Warrior. Like, how was the health of your wife coming into Warrior Week?
So, this happened in 2012.
Yes.
And what happened after that was we realized that the tumor was not inoperable and that it was actually something that could be treated. And we ended up getting it treated 6 months later up in New York. And she'd been doing great. She'd been doing fine. She was back to driving. She was working. She was being her mommy. And we were being involved in the community. And everything seemed to be, getting back to quote unquote normal.
Yes.
So coming into Warrior Week, I kind of thought life was going to be good. We had the worst behind us.
Yes. And so what was your discovery at Warrior Week? What needed to shift and change for you at Warrior Week 28? Because you also came back in 40.
I did come back at 40. What shifted for me in Warrior Week 28 was that I was playing too small. That I had certain gifts that I didn't tap into that I needed.
What were those gifts?
I enjoy teaching. I enjoy speaking. I enjoy helping others become the best possible version of themselves from a health perspective. And so I took it on after that to push forward in the health education arena, on TV, in periodicals, and making lectures and general public appearances.
So you come to Warrior Week finding out that something that is actually giving you joy, not happiness, but joy, and is feeding you certainty and confidence and purpose, has almost been dormant inside of you, right? So, and so life has been numb, and it almost took a tragedy for you to wake the fuck up and say, well, shit.
It's
shit. Okay. It's not all about doing everything by the textbook.
No, it isn't.
Because most of my life, I've done everything by the goddamn fucking textbook.
And yet, I wasn't able to find happiness and joy in doing that.
And then inside of that, obviously, you collide with an army of opinion inside of your community and inside of even your professional community.
Yeah, because this is not something that a traditional cardiologist should be doing. I shouldn't be getting up on TV. I shouldn't be, giving lectures out to the public. I shouldn't be, out there.
And you shouldn't have open conversation and raw conversation. You should reserve the conversations.
Correct. And I found myself on many occasions having a hell of a lot more raw conversations, real conversations, and relevant conversations with my patients.
Talk to me about one of the collisions with your community member, the Jewish community member. Like a specific story when you told someone to fuck off.
I had an incident, or more than one incident, with the rabbi of my community.
Yeah.
It so happens I was president of the synagogue, and I was very much involved and realized that the rabbinic staff was not living up to their role as a spiritual guide, a spiritual leader. And when I confronted them and told them that this has got to change, that they need to start living up to what they're preaching, as opposed to just being someone on high who didn't walk the walk.
Yes.
Just talk the talk. They looked at me like I was from Mars.
Yes, for sure.
They looked at me like I was absolutely from Mars. And finally, it came to a brewing point where I just basically said, "Listen, you should be fired. You should be fired. You are charged with leading a community from a spiritual perspective, and you're doing jack shit. You're doing jack shit." And that wasn't really received all that well.
Yeah. So the Adams flavor before would have never taken this stand.
Hell no.
And the Adam's flavor, obviously, today and then, after just shifting and finding out that, hey, living by the truth, it doesn't require a specific community. It doesn't require a specific religion.
No.
It doesn't require a specific color. It doesn't require a specific language or a country or a sex. Living by the truth is simply telling the truth.
The truth is the truth. It doesn't matter where it comes from.
It doesn't matter. And a lie is a lie.
Exactly.
And so why tolerate lie under the umbrella that, oh, it's because it's part of my culture. Oh, it's because it's part of my religion. Oh, it's because it's part of, our family fucking tradition.
It doesn't matter.
Like, this is what our kids today are naturally rejecting. Naturally rejecting. We as kids, we were rejecting this to some extent,
but not to the open extent that we are now.
Correct. As when we were kids, we were rejecting this, but at that time, we didn't really have the ammunition that kids have today, access to media, access to their own opinion, so that at one point we accepted it. But the nature was rejecting the lies.
Correct.
Do this, and you'll do this, and you'll go and you get your rewards into heaven. I mean, that was it. And in the midst of that, the now was almost like forgotten. The value for life was like almost zero.
Spirituality was not looked at as something, a connection. It was looked at as a rote cookbook. And honestly, it rings so hollow. It
does.
Hollow.
I mean, I look back like in the Muslim community, and you look back right now on the reputation of the Muslim community and the reputation of the religion Islam, and it's just like it's one that has the reputation of the Spanish Inquisition back in the Christianity torture days, crucibles.
Yeah.
And so it is what it is at this time. And so this does two things. One, to the outside, it projects this as something that is, it's evil. And from the inside, it creates distance from people that are actually believers of the cultures and the religion. It creates a distance between them and God because there's so much expectation and so much garbage taking place for the interest of the organizer. So organized religion has always served the interest of the fucking organizer.
Correct.
In the midst of all this, I do not dismiss the religious, or if you want, the kind religious guides. I call them guides.
Yeah.
Because they're not nothing more than that. They're simply guides. And their guidance, it floats. It's not an obligation to follow the goddamn guide. It's an invitation.
Yeah.
And if it resonates,
then
then you walk together.
Correct.
But at the end of the day, the destination is yours.
It's mine.
They will not bring you anywhere. You will go where you want to go.
You have to listen to the voice.
So obviously, you and I are talking about this here, but inside of your collision, what did you gain from telling him to fuck off?
I guess I gained for myself the ability to understand that I have the key. I have access. I have the ability to make my own connection. I don't have to go through anyone else. And that, in order for me to have happiness and spirituality, that really the power lies within.
I agree. So life goes on, and you gain this layer of certainty that you inject in your life, and things are good.
Things were great.
And then what happens?
And then July of 2016, I get a text from my wife. It's basically asked me a question that she should have known the answer to. And I figured, okay, whatever. I answer it. And then 2 seconds later, I get the same question popping up on my text feed. And I'm like, wait a second, what's going on here? And as I'm about to answer a second time, I get a phone call from my father-in-law saying, what's up with Shawnee? What's up with my wife? I said, what do you mean? I figured at least I should get some validation of what I'm thinking. And he said, well, she keeps asking us if we're coming for lunch on Saturday. And we keep telling her, yes, we're coming. I said to him, okay, bring her to the emergency room immediately. I think the tumor's back. And that's what happened. We brought her back in, met them there in the emergency room again, and the tumor was back with a vengeance. It was bigger than it was originally, and it was in actually multiple places. And, of course, the shit show began all over again.
What were you told by the doctors then?
The doctor basically said, we got to operate. We're going to operate again. We're going to do it down here in Florida.
And what did you think?
I said, hell no, I don't trust you. And I took her back up to New York where I originally had her had the surgery, where we had the first success. I figured maybe we can repeat it. Miracles happen again. And that's what we did. We got on a plane. We left the hospital. We got on a plane, went to New York, and we had surgery.
You had surgery, okay.
We had surgery again, followed up with radiation, chemotherapy, multiple rounds of chemotherapy. Short-term memory never returned. Okay. Never returned.
So then life goes on a few months later after all the stress of the surgery and the chemotherapy, and now dealing with your wife with ultimately short memories, right? So,
correct.
So it's a new way for you to adopt as a husband.
I think the one thing that I gained from the entire experience, if you like to say gain, is the fact that she taught me how to live in the now.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's all that mattered to her.
Yeah.
That's all that mattered to her. I mean, my job became entertaining her in the now. I would take her out to dinner. We'd go to movies. We'd go out to shows. We would travel. We traveled around the world.
So people say, and you hear this everywhere, right? You read it in the books. You hear it from people. Be here now. Live in the moment. And I mean, everybody would just nod their head and like, yeah, that's some good shit. But
we had no choice.
No, but yeah. And so like, you're like, what the fuck does that mean to begin with? And then in your case, with the circumstances around you, in the midst of the pain and the fucking misery, you found the only thing that was the actual light, the only possibility that made fucking sense in life. Here you are dealing with this tragedy, and it's a deadly fucking tragedy. It's not just like some minor shit, man. That literally fucking creates anxiety and destroys a man to begin with, a husband, your sexuality, your intimacy, your everything gone, taken away from you. I mean, to sit here, and you and I were very close, talking and sharing a lot of stuff. So we're sharing this today for the first time with you, and the purpose of this is the following. And just to let you know where the fuck we're going with this is that we're going to places where pain is not necessarily physical pain that we feel or financial tragedies that may happen to us that puts us in a position that is very painful. Sometimes pain is so paralyzing, and then the only thing that actually creates joy for us is the fact that we can still fucking breathe. That's it. Like, there's nothing else. Food doesn't taste the same. Water doesn't taste the same. The sky doesn't feel the same. Relationships with people are fucking numb. Like, the pain has completely paralyzed your operating system. And that's what essentially what happened to Adam is that the pain is so great that in the midst of all this, despite everything that you've done, 90% of you was just suffering. 10% of you was active and tried to like just keep it alive for the kids.
That's just the bottom line. I had to just keep it alive for them.
And then no one sees that 90%.
No.
Up to tonight even, no one knows about that 90%.
It was hell.
You shared with me. You would text me at night. We would call. But it was fucking hell. You are positioned in the unknown. You are positioned in a mystery. You are questioned every single fucking minute that whether I would lose my wife or not, what happens to my family. I mean, it's a complete fucking roller coaster that doesn't even fucking. I don't know how you fucking slept, man.
I lost a hell of a lot of sleep, and not only that, but I came to, unfortunately, and probably dealing with less of it now, but I came to a lot of alcohol, a lot of drinking, just to sedate, to numb myself.
Yes.
Just so I could just disconnect and go to sleep at night. Because, I mean, when you sit there and you start thinking about what the hell is going on in the future, I'm not going to have a wife. I'm not going to have anyone to help me with my 4 kids. It's overwhelming. I mean, it's absolutely and utterly overwhelming, and it's scary. It's scary. And
so, a couple of months goes by, and things begin to normalize themselves. And inside of this, you start seeing the light, and the light is, like, literally your wife cannot remember the past. And I remember specifically you and I had a conversation in this. I think it was late at night. I'm like, dude, literally your wife cannot remember the past.
No.
Like, park away the pain for a second. Let's just have a fucking conversation. Your wife cannot remember the past. That by itself, it's a blessing in the sky. Because for every piece of wisdom that you read, or every board of advice says, don't live in the fucking past. Live in the present. And the future doesn't exist yet.
No.
Do not live in the past. It's gone. And the truth is not in the past. The truth is in the now. So you're like, oh, shit. You're absolutely right. My wife cannot remember the past. Therefore, she cannot live in the past. She has no power to live in the future. So she's forced to live
in the now.
And so in that, you found beauty and power once again. In that, you found love. You found intimacy. You found sexuality. You find everything about your wife that you were enjoying.
Correct.
And all you had to do was to come in term that, okay, I will live in now.
That's it. Forget about what happened.
Talk to me about that experience. Like just you and her. Like, how was it, man? Living in the now. Because you're the only person that I know that I actually physically lived in the now. A lot of people says I live in the now, but I can't comprehend that. I try to live in the now myself. So I am, but I most of the time I don't live in the now.
I think at the end of the day, when I originally, when we were originally presented with this entire situation with her diagnosis and her loss of memory, I was paralyzed. I was absolutely paralyzed, thinking, what the fuck am I going to do? How are we going to manage? What's going to be? And I finally just surrendered. I just surrendered to the idea that, okay, I don't know what's going to be. I have no power on the future. The only thing I can control right now is now. And let's make this the most incredible now we can make it.
So talk to me about the experience of living in now. Like, what are some of the things you were doing? And talk to me about your feelings, man.
Well, literally almost every week we were going out on vacation somewhere. We would go to the beach. We would travel to New York. We'd go to Colorado. We'd go to Utah. We'd come to California. We went to Israel at least 5 or 6 times.
Good. Because she wouldn't remember that she won, right? So for her, it's always new.
It was always new for her. It was
That's
always a
awesome.
new experience. And she had an amazing time. And it rubbed off on me.
Yeah.
In fact, actually, a month before she died, I actually pushed her around Disney World. The two of us, just as kids, enjoyed the hell out of ourselves.
Yeah.
It was magical. It was absolutely and utterly magical, just the two of us.
So you lived in now. How long did that last?
It was July through October 3rd of this
So
past
about
year.
6 months you lived in the now.
No, July the year before, almost a year and a half.
Oh, a year and a half. So you experienced living in now a year and a half.
A year and a half.
And then this October, unfortunately, when she passed away, roll back a few months before that, and you found out that this thing got just worse, right? So what was happening?
So I being a doctor, you can kind of gauge how things are doing, and I saw clinically she was getting worse. I mean, she was having trouble standing, her balance was off, and just neurologically, things just seemed to be unraveling. And I remember about 6 months before she actually died, I said to my father-in-law, who we're very close with, and I said to him, listen, I really think we're going down the wrong path. I think we really need to consider stopping chemotherapy and just keeping her comfortable. And my in-laws said to me, they said, we're not ready to let her go. Mm-hmm. We want to continue. We want to continue. And I reserved myself to say, okay, that's it. You want to continue? We're continuing. And I did it specifically because I realized that that I knew we were going to lose this battle. I knew that that she was going to go, but I wanted to have a good relationship with them, not only for me but also for my children.
Yes.
4 kids, you want them to be able to be still close with their grandparents.
Yes.
And I never wanted to have that idea hung over their heads.
Yes.
That their son-in-law, basically killed their daughter.
Sure.
So we considered, continued the chemotherapy for another 6 months. And then finally, when we repeated the scan, so the tumors were getting bigger despite the chemo, despite all the therapy, my father-in-law looked at me and he said, Adam, we're done. We're done. I'm like, okay, that's it. We're finished. And literally within 2 weeks of after stopping the chemo, she passed.
She passed away. I remember you texted me. It was 4 a.m. at night.
She died at 7:03 in the morning.
7:03.
7:03 in the morning. Your time, yes. It was.
Yeah,
It was. You're in California. I'm in
yes.
Florida.
I remember I got a text, you announcing her passing away. It was a sad day, and so how's life been for you, man, ever since then?
For me, the mourning process started when she lost her short-term memory.
Yeah.
And it really didn't come to full blossom or to full, force until she actually physically died. And it's a hole. It's a hole that that's very difficult to fill. I don't think it'll ever be filled. But to this day, there's so many memories of her. And for example, the other day I was in the house and I saw her glasses. I still haven't cleaned up her closet. I still have all her clothing there, and her glasses were sitting on the counter, and I saw them, and I remembered looking through those lenses and seeing her eyes, and I found myself on the floor crying again because I miss her. I miss her. And while I can tell you that it's better than where we were, because right after she died, I was a complete and utter basket case.
Yeah.
Probably worse than my children, which I'm utterly surprised at how strong they are and how much direction they have. I think they were carrying me for most of that journey, whereas I was carrying them throughout the illness. They were carrying me after she died. I think I'm probably the one who's taken it the worst.
So, I want to come back to living the Warrior's way. This routines and patterns, this way of living, which is essentially very simple, and that is stop fucking lying and tell the truth. That's the foundation. Like, just tell the truth. And then from that place, take care of yourself because you're worth it, right? Take care of yourself as a father, as a husband, as a man, as a leader. Like, take care of yourself. Take care of your body. Take care of your mind and your connection with God. Take care of your children and your loved ones. Take care of your business and your line of production. Just don't be numb to it, and it's a daily routine.
Yeah.
So this is the Warrior's way, and you've been living this, obviously, for the past 2.5 years. And you go through the worst thing, the worst scenario that a man can go through. Like the worst imaginable fucking scenario. And if you're watching and listening to the podcast at this point and you're feeling Adam's pain because you had someone that you lost, perhaps maybe you had a child that you lost, or you lost your wife, or maybe a recent family member passed away, you can relate. And if you haven't lost anyone that is so close in your life, you can just imagine how horrifying the pain can be. The pain and the possibility of even like losing someone that you love so much, how paralyzing that could be. I mean, I sit here, and if I imagine that, I would see myself in fucking crumble. Like, living the Warrior's way would be the last fucking thing I would do. Like, fuck the Warrior's way. Fuck this podcast. Fuck everybody. Fuck this camera. Fuck you, the listener. Like, I will be completely fucking crushed.
Well, I don't think I had a choice. I didn't have a choice. I mean, if you think about it, I have 4 kids at home who rely on me. I have a slew of thousands of patients that need me. I have a community that still looks to me for guidance. There was no way in hell I could let myself go. And the bottom line is, as we always say, is you're your greatest investment. You need to continuously work on yourself and invest in yourself, because if you go to shit, then forget it. Nothing else gets done. So
I remember like just witnessing prior that she passed away the difficult times of support, and as well as post her death, like you continued living this way because it was the only way that could actually keep you alive.
It gave me power.
And power.
It gave me power. It gave me the ability to just move forward just through the day. I wasn't thinking about next week. I wasn't thinking about next month. I was just thinking about how the fuck am I going to get through today?
How the fuck am I going to get through today? How the fuck am I going to get through today? And that's like really your expertise in living in the now. Today is the now. Tomorrow doesn't fucking exist. And the past is gone. It's out of our hand, out of control. And so how do I make the best of today with this horrific fucking tragedy in my life that I can't do anything about? Like, I can't do. I remember you and I have conversation, and there was a period of time that you were frustrated at God.
Yeah.
Like, you had massive amount of anger towards him. You didn't want to really, like, do the traditional stuff it left a big fucking gap between your spirit. I know you were a spiritual reason and still are, but it's inside of that. There was a period of time where there was a gap because not because that you wanted. It's just what other choice did you had?
I think the bottom line is, at least for me, the biggest hardship I had was grappling with the fact that the one person that I loved, the one person that understood my kind of crazy, was taken away from me. And I had a very, 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 very difficult time understanding why a just and loving God would do something like that. And it took me a while to grapple with.
And then when I remember that roller coaster of emotion.
Yeah.
And I remember the rage and I remember the consumption of the alcohol to numb you down so you don't burn more shit down. It took a couple of months. And then what conclusion did you come to?
It took a while. But at least this is what worked for me, and I'm not going to say that this is going to work for someone else who suffered a loss. But my understanding at the end of the day is that my soul, the souls of my children, the souls of my in-laws are here, and as everyone else is here for expansion, to get better, to get stronger, to get bigger than where we were before. And if that's the case, then for some reason that I do not understand, don't think I will ever understand, that God has determined that my soul and all of our souls in our family needed to undergo prolonged, horrific loss in order to perfect ourselves.
Yeah. And so fast forward back, or actually roll back 4 years back, to the first time you saw the message of Warrior, right? And ultimately decoding the message 4 years later, the message is live for expansion. That's what Warrior is.
Correct.
Like, live to grow. Like, living in good equals shit inside of the Warrior's way. That's what it is. If you have a good life, then congratulations. That equals shit in this brotherhood.
Good isn't good enough.
That's pretty much what it is.
Good isn't good enough.
Great is a destination. But what's the hardest part to get to great?
The hardest part of getting to great is pushing yourself to that point where you become comfortable with being uncomfortable.
I would say it's giving up the fucking good.
Yeah.
When you have to give up the good for the great, it's not easy to give up the good.
No.
It's not easy to give up the good life. It's not easy to listen to this podcast and do something fucking about it. It's not easy to continue watching the Warrior's Way message and the men that carry the torch and talk about this constantly on Facebook, on Instagram, on other social media venue, emails, broadcasts. Like, the message is being broadcasted continuously. And it's not easy to act as a fucking voyeur, sit down and continuously watch this shit. Oh, I'm not going to press on the like button because I'm going to be exposed to the world that I actually agree with this message. That I actually agree with the message about the truth. Oh, I don't want to be exposed, but yet I'm going to watch this. I'm going to keep listening to this. You know why? Because it's not easy to give up the good that you've created around yourself to go in a place that is great. And I'm not saying that in Warrior you'll find greatness. What I'm saying here in Warrior is the possibility for you to give yourself permission to actually go to great and give up the goddamn good that has kept you fucking prisoner for most of your life. Good has been what they want you to believe. Having a good life is what they want for you.
Good is a prison.
Good is a prison. And let's talk about they. When I say they, who's they? Well, they could be a community. They could be family. They could be a society. They could be a country. They could be a group of people. They could be a company. They could be a government. They want you in good. They don't want you in great. And most of you motherfuckers are actually co-signing for the bullshit of what they're feeding you to stay in good. That's why there's so many people listening to motivational shit. Because at the end of the day, no one wants to hear what we're saying here. No one wants to sit down here and listen 45 minutes through the fucking pain that you went through. For what? If they listen here for, like I'm realistically, if you're still in this fucking podcast, like realistically, why the fuck would you listen here 45 minutes a man's pain? If you're not trained to download the gifts that comes from this, of course you're not going to see anything in it. Because your mind is continuously looking to sign off on some goddamn fucking bullshit that is fed to you by some motivator speaker. That yes, life is great. If you work hard, you will be successful. Wake up at 4:30 in the morning and do your workout and you will be successful. Exchange your late nights for your early morning and you will be successful. Tell that to the guy in aisle 13 in fucking Home Depot that's been trying this for the past fucking 5 years and is still in the same fucking spot. The conversation here is pure. The conversation here is straightforward. The conversation here is real. There is no boundaries inside of this conversation. There are no colors better than anybody. There are no fucking religion better than anybody else here. There is not one way to God. We are taking a stand for what is the truth. And the truth is, tell it as is. And so I'm going to tell it as is. If your life is good, then your life is equal shit. I'm going to have you consider that if your life is good, then you are living in a pile of shit. Because you are living with what they want you to live with. And your potential and your greatness, it's somewhere out there. But you have decided to be where you are and stay where you are. This is not a motivation fucking talk to pump you up. This is a reality that I had to fucking face. I'm talking to you about my own experience. I'm not quoting anybody. I'm not fucking like reading a fucking book. I'm talking about my own personal fucking experience. 4 years ago, I walk into this thinking that life is good and that my marriage is good and that my relationship with my son is good and that my business is good and that my body is good. Well, everything equals shit. Right when I was exposed to the reality of my life. And it required a process. It required somebody else to help me to see that. Because by my own, I was too stuck in the shit. All I could see was shit. Because I had shit all over my fucking eyes. I was covered in shit. Full of shit. Full of shit. A goddamn fucking liar. Full of shit. But yet, I was seeing a good life. In the midst of a pile of shit, I was seeing a good life. Today, I look back and I'm like, fuck. The man that I was in that pile of shit, if I would have stayed there, for the past 4 years, there'll be trucks loaded with shit that would come and just pile more shit on top of me. From all direction. All direction. So when you listen to this man's pain, try to feel the pain. Try to see that this shit, what the pain that is going through, it could happen to you. It could happen to me. And ask yourself, are you fucking prepared to deal with this kind of fucking adversity? Because life is going to hit hard. And if you're stuck in good, you're going to be paralyzed. You're going to have to come out of the good. You're going to have to give up the good. You're going to have to literally collide with those that are saying to you, stay in good. There is going to be multiple collision required for you to free yourself of this chain of thoughts that says, do this. Wake up. Do this. Do this. Do this. Go to church on Sunday. You're a good man. Stop fighting to be a good man. Stop. Begin living. Begin becoming good at being good at a man. And you did that. You stopped being a good man. And you started being good at being a man. And that changed everything. That changed everything about you. That brought the fucking alpha out. The guy that's in charge, the leader in your community.
Profession.
Spirituality. Profession. In the relationship that you have with your kids right now. And how you remember and honor your wife every single day. And yet, continue to live your life for the next 40, 50 years because you got a life to build.
It's just beginning.
You have a life to build. You are not here to live. You are not here to live for the next 40, 50 years. That would be a waste of fucking time for you and for those that want to be led by you. You are here to build a fucking life. And there's going to be another woman in your life to help you build it. That's the nature of the game. That's what God has created, man and woman, and that is natural. To build a life, you're going to require a woman next to you. When? I don't know.
It's going to happen.
But it's a must. Or else you will be living the next 50 years.
It's not about living.
And you are a fucking builder.
I don't think I have a choice.
What are you going to build, Adam? What are you going to fucking build?
I'm going to continue down that path of teaching, of inspiring, of leading. I'm going to be a leader.
Johnny left this world for the unknown reason. You and I don't know. You learn to surrender to what is. But she left you many gifts. And each of those gifts come into play to your leadership. You would have never been the man you are without her in your life.
Hell no. Very lucky. Very, very lucky. And I'm
you
very
would
thankful.
have never, ever, ever, ever been the man that you are today at this time, sitting in this studio right now, carrying so much power and respect, if she would have not been in your life building the blocks with you. You built a life with Shani. And she's giving you a tremendous amount of gifts. What the fuck are you going to do with the gifts?
My next venture, I'm planning on rolling out probably within the next 18 months, is to expand on a wellness practice. Helping those deal with not disease, but health, wellness, being proactive, predictive, preventive. Because once people get sick, the horse left the barn. It's all about preventing things from happening. Because if you're ahead of the curve, if you're ahead of the game, you can preserve not only the length of your life, but the quality of your life. And that's what it's all about. Who the fuck cares if you're 97 years old, contracted, gorked out, and can't, interact with your loved ones? If you can do something about it now, when you're in your 30s, your 40s, to improve and maintain the quality of that life, to being active, then hell yeah, bring it on. And that's what I want to do.
So you're a cardiologist and you help people with their pain in their hearts. And the irony is this, as a leader in this movement, and as you know, we lead by experience, we lead by what we know, is that you can be sitting in front of thousands of men that have had heart problems and that had pain in the heart, and you can declare with fucking confidence, no matter how much pain you had, you could have never, ever, ever felt the pain that I felt in my heart when my wife left. So I've carried the worst pain of all. I, Adam Splaver, have carried the worst pain of all that a heart can carry. So I don't give a fuck about your XYZ complication with your heart.
puts things in perspective.
It takes, and it's when I think I don't give a fuck about it, I don't give a fuck you having anxiety and worrying about that. We're going to fix this. We're going to help you with this. Science is going to back this up. But above all that, if you keep creating fucking anxiety and fear, then your heart is still going to be in a different kind of pain. So your teaching today becomes about the heart, the physical matter of the heart, the biology of the heart, and the mechanics of the heart.
And the spiritual nature of it as well.
And then the spiritual nature of it. And then the third element, which is this sensational space to feel. A spectrum of feelings. Because your life has been literally the spectrum of all the feelings that a man can feel in his heart. You take 2012 and all the way to now, you have been on a roller coaster of emotion. And this was not experienced in your head. No. Like, in fact, your head was left alone for a while. This has continuously been in your heart.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the teaching becomes from the experience that you've gained in the past 6 years. And every single piece of emotion that you felt and the feelings you felt was a gift from Shawnee to you. So in return, in your teaching, you can heal men with the expression of their goddamn fucking feelings.
Profound.
Profound, because it's from a place of experience. Not from a place of, hey, let me tell you another motivational
Theory.
fucking speech.
Yeah.
You want pain? I'll fucking bring you pain. You want to talk about fucking pain? Here's pain that I felt in my heart. You want to talk about joy? I'll tell you about joy. You want to talk about up and down and up and down and up and down and up and down?
Been there, done that. Been there, done that.
And so the teaching is from a place of heart, which is everything that you've always been about. But now it's just taken another form. See, this has nothing to do with the Jewish community. This has nothing to do with being Christian, Muslim, or anything else.
Being a man.
Everybody has a fucking heart.
Yeah.
And the problem today in our society is that men are so disconnected with their heart. There is a gap between a man and his feelings. Beside the typical feelings that are anger and some emotional small spectrum of feelings, most of the feelings of men today is not explored. How do I know that? Because I was one of them. I was limited to 5 or 6 feelings when I came into Warrior. Like literally limited to that. And gratitude, happy, angry, mad, and regretful, and feeling guilt and shame. And yeah, I put an asshole in there too. Right? Yeah. That was it. That was my dictionary of feelings. Today, it's basically fucking thousands of ways to feel. Because I learned the way. I allowed myself to feel through experience and situation, not by fucking reading. I didn't allow myself to feel by listening to a fucking podcast or to some fucking motivational video. I invited myself in different experiences, spiritual experiences, physical experiences that demanded me to test my heart. So, when is the last time you tested your heart? Yeah, truly. When is the last time you tested your heart? Not your heartbeat, not your heart rate. This is not a physical test. This is purely an emotional test. When is the last time you tested your heart? And if you would ask yourself a question today, how many feelings you have actually felt in the past decade? If it's between 5 and 7, then you know that you're exactly like me 4 years ago in a pile of shit, thinking that life was good. What are you getting from this, Dr. Splaver? The spectrum of feelings.
What am I getting from this? I remember growing up the son of a man who was from the Bronx. I don't know if that tells you much, other than the fact that we were always told, suck it up.
Yeah.
Suck it up, be a man. And the range of emotions, as you mentioned, were very limited. Very, very limited. And I think this entire experience that my wife had taken me on this journey has been an eye-opener, a heart-opener, something that I'm forever grateful for and thankful for. And for that, I consider myself lucky.
Mm-hmm.
Probably the luckiest man alive.
Mm-hmm.
I don't wish for anyone to undergo what I had to in order to get that wake-up call. I don't wish for anyone to lose their wife, their partner, their lover. But if you can do this without going through that experience, that pain, that loss, then just go with it. Open yourself up. Feel.
At WarriorCon 2, in front of 500 men, actually in front of 700 men, you had a speech, a very moving speech that was given. And men stood up, 700 men dressed in black polos, 700 businessmen, 700 fucking alphas, alpha and producers in the society. Married businessmen, 700, stood up and applauded for almost like a couple of minutes nonstop.
Yeah.
What was the message shared, and how did you felt about what you received, and what did it confirm?
Well, the speech that I basically gave was dealing with the idea that obviously in life we need to be preventative. We have to be predictive. We take our cars in for maintenance. We change the oil filter. We top off the fluids. Well, all of us, many of us, ignore the fact that our health is paramount. And if we can just get ahead of the game in that regard, then we should do it. But really, the crux of the entire talk was, what happens when shit goes sideways? What happens when things go bad? And are we prepared to deal with it? And like I mentioned to Sam, and as Sam has mentioned to you, the bottom line is having that structure of the Warrior's Way. It empowered me to just continue on and keep moving forward in order to tackle, to embrace this huge problem in my life. And if the only thing I can implore you, or implore all of us, including myself, is that if we can only fortify ourselves to become stronger, then all this other stuff it becomes an easy task to tackle.
True. And you've led so many men here inside of Warrior. You've sent Artemis. Artemis works for you.
Came here.
He came here, and
also my nurse practitioner's husband came.
Yeah, what's his name?
His name is Matt Deslibe.
Matt Deslibe came. Matt Deslibe came. You send Artemis here, and I specifically remember Artemis dropped the scripture here on. I don't know if it was Warrior. I believe it was Warrior X9, and it's been used over and over ever since he dropped it. He says, "Remember to remember him."
True that.
Remember to remember him, and it was quite. It shook a few mountains here on that day, with the guys being here. You've led people here. People from Israel calling me now, texting me, and they're like, "Hey, we want to know about this Warrior's Way. How can we participate, and how do we do it from here, right?" And so the message is international. The message is not reserved to anyone. The message is reserved to your experience and those that want to follow you and follow your teaching. And there'll be plenty that would be your tribe and resonate with you, and you're always part of this brotherhood. You'll always be part of this brotherhood because this brotherhood shared with you so much, and you shared with this brotherhood so much pain. Eventually, and essentially you divided your pain inside of here. And 50 years to come to build life, you multiply joy here.
Yeah.
So thanks for being on the call.
Thank you.
Final words for our brothers and listeners.
The final words are that despite your darkest hour, despite the pain that you have, you're not alone. You really aren't alone. And if you can lean on those around you, lean on your brothers, lean on those that really have your best interests in mind, then you can get through almost anything.
Beautiful. As a reminder, if you want to watch more of these episodes, you can find them at warriorweeknow.com. You can also subscribe to iTunes, Google, and as well as Stitchers by searching for Warrior Week Podcast Parables from the Pit, and you'll be able to subscribe there and receive the notifications on that. We will have videos, we will have images, and we will have PDF for scriptures that are ready to be downloaded at warriorweek.com. warriorweeknow.com. And if this has resonated with you in two ways. One, in a way that you would want to experience what Warrior is all about. You could do so by going to warriorweek.com and apply for the Warrior Week experience. And in other words, if this has actually resonated with you to some extent and has opened your eyes to see things differently, then simply forward this to another man that may be using and needing this message today. In any case, I thank all of you to be here with us. This was a very special episode. It's late at night here. We're recording, and as you could see, it was an emotional experience. But I welcome you to give yourself a chance and give yourself a permission to ask yourself, when is the last time you've tested your heart?